Jack widens away. He's got support.
I had some really high highs, now I've had the really low lows, and whatever comes with that, I just got to take it and roll with the punches. I was a tragic.
Were you?
I'd nearly have every NRL team's jersey. Whenever Friday night footy was, whatever team was playing, I'd throw on that jersey and I'd go play like a little preview game in the front yard by myself. I'd commentate. I was obsessed with footy, no doubt. It's all sort of done through my manager at the start, and then he'll correspond with me being like, oh, Melbourne have given you an offer. And
What's your initial thought when you hear that?
Melbourne? Like Melbourne Storm. Not many people ever get this opportunity at 19 to go down to Melbourne and work their craft under the best fullback to ever play the game. You dream of playing an NRL grand final, you dream of winning one, but then scoring a try in a grand final, it was just pure joy.
I remember watching it, and I remember there was discussions that it was like a car crash victim.
Very, very painful.
Straight away?
Straight away. The doctor was just pressing on it, and I could just feel fragments of bone just separating as he pushed his finger into it. Yeah, he just looked at me and said, "You've broken your kneecap."
What did the x-ray look like?
Like someone taking a baseball bat to my knee.
What was your worst day?
Around that 8-9 month mark when I thought I'd be back. You just question whether it's ever going to be the same again. Why me? I've let all these people down again. It's part of my story now. I can relate to people who have gone through a tough time or a tough injury, and if I can be someone who goes out there and performs at a high level, it just shows them that they can do something similar. So,
well, this is outstanding for the Howie Games. I'm not a rugby league guru. I'm not Ray Warren or Matty Johns by any stretch of the imagination, but this man is my favourite rugby league player. He's been through a tough period over the last couple of years. Can't wait to see him playing for the Melbourne Storm again. His name is Ryan Papenhuyzen. He joins us on the Howie Games, and we are pumped about it, mate. Great to see you. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Howie. It's I've heard big things about this podcast, so it's it's an honour to be on here.
Well, you sent me a really kind message when I asked you to come on, but before we get into everything, you've just sat down here in the studio. It's your day off.
Yep.
So what's a typical day off for you?
Yeah, day off for me, I think, is trying to get a bit away from footy. I think we do a lot of work and a lot of video analysis and a lot of physical training during the week. So I think my day off is just trying to get away from that as much as possible. And whether it's going to a coffee or going down the beach there and chilling out. But I love my golf as well. So I'll head out to the golf course as much as I can. Obviously if the body's all right. But yeah, we've got a good group at footy who get around the golf course, and yeah, some good bets to get around there too.
Where do you typically play, mate?
So I'm a member at Q. So I used to live up sort of in Richmond, and it was very close by. But now I've moved down to Bayside, and I'm also a member at the Dunes down in Rye. So
nice.
Two very contrasting courses, but yeah, I like to get down there and try play some good golf.
What do you play off typically?
I'm off. I think my handicap's 11.7 right now.
Handy.
Yeah, so I go all right, but probably not. I probably should be a bit better for the amount of time I've been putting in. But
who's the person to beat at the Storm?
Oh, if we're going to go best golfer, I'm going to say Nick Meaney.
Really?
Yeah, he's just consistent. He's got a really smooth swing, and gets it. It just gets around the golf course well. Cameron Munster had a scratch round during the off season.
I would tip him as unpredictable.
Well, exactly, you nailed it.
He strikes me as that.
Unpredictable. I think he had 130 the next week. So he had 71 around Capital, and then had 130 when we went over to Fiji. So he's erratic. They're probably our two, and I'd say I'd be in there to challenge him every now and then.
And you're very cool and calm and collected, yet explosive on the rugby league arena. Have you ever thrown a club? Are you calm? Are you feisty? How do you approach golf?
Yeah, well, I think it's been a whole process. When I first started golf, I probably was throwing clubs and snapping clubs and carrying on and being
good.
But I feel like I've transitioned. I feel like I've matured now. I feel like I've got to a point where if I'm letting that affect me, then I'm not going too well mentally. So I reckon I've transitioned out of it, and now I would like to say I'm quite calm on the golf course too.
Hole in one?
No hole in ones.
Ever close?
Yeah, been close a couple of times. Been close at my old home course back in Sydney, Castle Hill.
Yeah.
I think it's the 11th hole. Nice little par 3 over the water there, and that's probably the closest I've ever been.
Have you ever played in a pro-am?
I have played in a pro-am.
Right, who'd you get to play with?
We got to play with, so I had my first pro-am I ever played.
Yep.
We actually won.
Right.
So that was with Velton Myers was the pro. He's from Germany.
Not across Velton's work, to be
so,
honest.
and we've stayed in contact since, which is a
Right.
great story. But Dill Buckley was in the group there as well. Absolute burglar Dill. He was playing off 23 that day.
Is he? What a ripping podcast
And
he's got to Dylan Friends. If you haven't listened, you should.
Outstanding podcast. And Sam Margin from the Rubens, the lead singer.
Right.
So we had a good crew that day, and poor Velton, actually. I remember when we first got our Pro-Am teams, I was like, who's this bloke? Who's this pro in our
You're
group?
not meant to know your German pro. He's probably 160 in the world.
But I back myself with my golfers. Like, I watch a lot of the DP World Tour, and
Right.
He'd played a few events in that, and yeah, we were sort of like, it'll be a good day, but like, would have been good to be with like Scotty or Cam Smith or someone like that. But
Velton.
honestly, like, it was the best day I've had on the golf course, hands down, and we won it. So that was even more special, and we've stayed in contact since. Velton lives over in Orlando, and I was over there recently, and we caught up for a beer and hung out, and yeah, I guess those sort of relationships you build, and still get an occasional text from Sammy and Dill, and yeah, I guess we probably weren't that close before, but after that experience, so yeah, 1-from-1 with the Pro-Ams.
Who have you played golf with that you thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm playing golf with such and such? Apart from Velton and Dill.
Apart from Velton and Dill and Sammy, well, that's a great question. Because I feel like those golf games are a while ago now. I reckon even just going around with Gowie.
Right. Paul Gow.
Yeah, Paul Gow. I think just the way we sort of get along, and he's done a lot in the game, you know, and
He has.
I feel like he's someone that he's on the TV every week and he's commentating golf, and to play with him, but then to just how he treats you as a mate and wants to genuinely make you better, I think that's something that I found really special. So, yeah, Paul Gowie, I'll give him a little shout out there.
He's a good man. Most people wouldn't realise, I had a 2-year period, a short period as a golf commentator on course. Channel 10 got the golf years ago when I was working there, and it was like you had to, go out. It was like the old whispering role. He's got a 6-9 to the pin, 150 out, blah, 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 blah. Interesting thing, golf commentary. We are that pumped on the show to have you on. Guess who's on after you?
Oh, is it a golfer?
It's a golfer.
No.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm going to test your golf knowledge then.
Okay.
This chap is the current US Masters champion.
Current US Masters champion.
Yep. Who just signed an enormous deal with Liv.
No way.
Johnny Rahm is on the show next week. We spoke to him
No
last
way.
week. We spoke to him last week.
What?
I know. Not in person. He was in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. We were talking about Liv. I'm a fan of Liv and their accessibility, and we were talking about the fact. So Tommy, who you met, sent me an email. He said, "Mate, I've been speaking to Liv, the guru that is. Who would you like to speak to if we could speak to one Liv player?" And I said, Johnny Rahm or Phil Mickelson, thinking.
Just shoot for the stars.
Zero chance. Because if you tried to get either of those two when they're on the US PGA Tour, they wouldn't, let's be honest, they would not respond to your email. Tommy comes back to me 3 days later. He said, Johnny Rahm, 6 p.m. from Saudi Arabia next Tuesday night. And I'm thinking, this is not happening. And then I sit there. I was on a few days up in Cabarita in northern New South Wales. So my wife was pumped. I was about to do a podcast on our 4-day holiday. And then pops Johnny Rahm for 50 minutes.
Way.
He was outstanding.
I've seen some stuff he's done with, I think he's done some stuff with Good.
Yep.
So I watch a bit of Good golf, and just seems like a genuine bloke. So
that's
a great get.
Oh, mate.
That's unbelievable.
It's not quite Ryan Papenhuyzen, but it's right up there. So if Rugby League went Live, right, and someone was offering you 900 mil, right? So Ryan Papenhuyzen signs a $900 million deal. What's the first thing you're buying?
Oh, first thing I'm buying. Probably a nice little holiday house. Holiday house on the water.
Whereabouts?
I'm probably going to go like Hawaii or something.
Okay.
Just like a nice little 10-hour flight away. And if I spend some time in the US, it's sort of that halfway bit.
And you've probably got your private jet at this point with the 900 million.
Well, see, that's the thing, Howie. A lot of people don't know.
What's that?
I'm terrified of flying.
Are you?
So if I'm buying a little jet, it's going to have to be a big jet.
Right.
It's going to have the proper. I'm not getting in a little 12-seater.
What scares you?
Turbulence.
Right.
I think. Yeah, turbulence definitely. And I feel like I've got a little cheat code that's overcome my fear, actually.
Okay, this is now for all those that, because I spend a lot of time on planes, and you really feel for the person when you're sitting next to them and you see them, the old cliche, but gripping it, or they start talking a lot, or you can see that they're really concerned. So this is the Ryan Papenhuyzen cheat code to overcome the fear of flying. Go.
All right, it is a little bit expensive, but buy some Apple AirPods.
Right.
The Pro Max ones, the ones that like go over your ears, the headphones, the noise cancelling headphones. It's honestly saved my fear of anxiety when I'm on a flight.
So how bad did the fear of anxiety of flight get to you?
Quite bad when there was turbulence. When there's none, I'm fine.
Yep.
But as soon as there's a little bit of rocking or we're dropping out of the sky, I'm
So what is it? How does it come out in you?
Well, I don't really say too much, but I'm quite grippy. Hands start getting sweaty, and then just tell myself stories in my head that probably aren't going to happen.
Right.
But yeah, it gets pretty bad. So
which is tough when you're a professional athlete that every second week has to get on a plane.
I'm flying every second week, and everyone's like, "Well, why are you playing for Melbourne?" We'll go over that, why I think it's so special. But yeah, I guess it's probably one of those things that I've had to just overcome and deal with. Well, not really overcome because I still deal with it, but yeah, I think I've found a way now. So. And
so these, you'll get a big sponsorship deal out of this. So what are these? The big boy Apple ones?
Yeah, the Apple AirPods Pro, I think they're called. Yeah, noise cancelling headphones. So I bought them when I was travelling back from the States this time. So I had, like I said, quite bad flight anxiety.
Back and forth. That's a long flight too.
Long flight. So I don't do myself any favours. I usually look at the weather map in advance and go, oh, it's going to be a rough flight, or it's going to be...
You're looking at to the point where there's going to be turbulence somewhere off the trench off the coast of Hawaii.
Yeah, so even a flight from Melbourne to Sydney, I'll get the old Weather Zone app up and I'll look at it and see the radar, and if there's patches of, I guess, going to be turbulence, I'll prepare for it mentally. And I guess the noise cancelling, just the easiest way to describe it is, I think the sound of things gets me anxious.
Yep.
So I don't think it's the movement and dropping out of the sky. I think it's more like hearing the engines, hearing the motors, hearing people panic around me that gets me. So I think the noise cancelling thing just eliminated that. And the easiest feeling I had to it was, do you remember when you're just driving around when you were a kid back in the day? Dad would be in the front seat and you're drifting off, going to sleep, and you just feel the rocks and the bumpiness of the car. That's what I can compare it to now.
Right.
So I'm not even thinking I'm on a flight. I feel like I'm just in the car and it's a little bit bumpy.
Well, that's a great tip to get people underway. Your player profile, which came out last week, and we will have talked about, which we haven't done yet, but it'll all be out when people listen to this. I will have asked you what you're watching on TV. My wife put me onto a show that I started watching on a plane. It's called Yellow Jackets on Netflix. Have you seen that? Okay.
No.
Don't watch it. One, it's a horror, but it's about a girl's football team, a girls' soccer team from America. It's not true, and they're all in a plane crash, and the visual representation of the plane crash. So to me, watching TV and movies, the worst plane crash that you think will be realistic. Well, Tom Hanks when he ends up on the island.
Yeah.
His Yellow Jackets plane crash is a whole next level frightening plane crash. So do not watch it.
Okay, yeah, won't watch it. And you watched it on a plane too.
I watched it on a plane. I'm like, why is my wife telling me to watch this? Now, when I came in here, because I was stuck on the Westgate, so you actually got here earlier than me, you had your iPad out and your phone and you were taking notes. This is up to you how much you want to tell me about what's going on here. I did a podcast a while ago with a chap called Harry Garside, a boxer. He's a big note taker, big note taker. Nat Fyfe, the AFL footballer, is a big note taker, and then he looks back on the notes he took a year ago to see how he's progressed in life. So at this stage, a year ago, he might have been struggling with A in his life, and he refers back to that, and now, a year later, is he still struggling with that, how he's worked through it? Why are you taking notes, firstly? Yeah,
I think it's probably a combination of both those things, really. I think I like taking the notes to become a bit more self-aware. And it's pretty similar to Fyfe's strategy. I think it's pretty cool to look back on what I've written, whether it's on my iPad or in a journal. And I keep all my journals from when I first moved down here. That's when I started, 2017. And some of the things I wrote there and some of the people I thanked, I just like taking a photo of it and send it to them and just seeing the impact that they've had now. And
that's nice.
I just think it's really cool to, I don't know, I feel like my memory's not that great. And it's just one way I can look back and, I guess reflect on the journey and I guess be more in the present. If I'm taking notes now, I feel like it's getting my feelings out into a page, or if I've got something I really want to say and I might forget it, it's there. And I just feel like it's always going to be there digitally or whether it's on paper. And then I think my big thing in life is I want to help people. And if I can document my journey along the way, then it will be easier to relate to someone who's going through a rough period or relating to a 18-year-old who's just moved down to Melbourne. And finding it a little bit tough rather than hopefully I've experienced a lot from there, but I can go back to that and be like, wow, I did feel quite vulnerable in that moment. And I feel like it's probably only something I've done since I moved to Melbourne, and the last couple of years I've picked up a bit more strongly of how I want to go about it. And yeah, I feel like it helps me and puts me in a good spot in the future where I might be able to help others. So yeah, that's why I do it.
It's a beautiful description of doing it, and you're obviously really in touch with your emotions. Before I ask you to read something off that, which is up to you if you want to, when you talk about being present, I went through a period last year. I came back from India from the IPL and I couldn't sleep. I was really struggling to sleep, and a couple of people put me onto a meditation app, and it was all about being present. What does it mean to you to be present? Because it's a bit of a
buzzword.
It is a buzzword.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's hard to. I think it means different things to different people.
Yep. No, I agree, and I think being present to me is obviously being able to connect with someone. I think a lot of the time, if you've got something preoccupied ideas of someone or the way they're going to go about things, you might go in with a different perspective and probably not take it for what it actually is. And yeah, being present for me is disregarding things that have happened and it's a new page. So whether it's me talking to you today or me meeting someone out in the street, you can hear things about someone, but it's like you've got to take it for what it is and just go on that journey. You might take things out of that, you might learn things from it. And like I said, I've learned a new show not to watch today. So.
Yeah, don't be watching Yellow Jackets.
But I think if you can be present, you are so open to learning and you are so open to thinking about things a different way. That's my perspective of it.
So in a rugby league perspective, it's, being present or meditation or mental preparation, do you have a mental routine you go through before you run out at Amy Park to play for the Storm?
Yeah. So I think my preparation's probably changed a lot since I first started. I used to just think it was game day. I used to think I can do whatever I wanted throughout the week, and game day I'll go through my routine and that'll get me in good shape.
Yep.
And I probably got caught in a bit of a false sense of security with that. I had quite a bit of success early on in my career and thought that's the way it was. And it probably wasn't until the last couple of years with what I've experienced that I've realised preparation is not just that one day. It's months of work. It's those little habits that you build into your routines. And I guess now I'm in a spot where I can confidently say I prepare well because I know what preparation looks like. It's not just that day. It's the work you do before. So I feel like your idea of it changes over time, and I'm still not perfect with my preparation, but I feel like I'm doing the right things to put things in place, and I'm actively trying to grow and learn and be someone who, at the end of the day, can have a really good preparation and, like I said before, help someone who might not, or just be a good role model for someone who's not doing it too well.
Hold that thought, because we'll get later on how you do prepare. Okay, you've got your iPad there. Are you happy to read anything off there? Mate, you don't have to. You can completely say no to me.
This is a freshie.
Right.
This is a fresh one. My laptop just broke down. So
you've got your new Apple.
Got my new Apple.
So I think
iPad.
I think if you haven't already got an Apple deal by the end of this podcast, you've plugged 2 of their products already now next year, and now you're holding up your iPhone.
Very true.
I think you're a chance.
So the only notes I've got on this are like a couple. You know what? I'm just going to do it.
Only if you're comfortable.
No, you know what? I think it's worth getting out there. So this is my diary entry for yesterday.
Okay.
So it's a little one, but I thought, you know what? It's first day with the iPad. I'm going to write it down. I've got plenty of my notes.
Yep.
But I literally wrote this last night. So first day with the iPad. Today was a long day, and there were times I felt flat and not ready to have energy. I was conscious of needing to have good vibes and bring my teammates with me, but I also think I was quite focused. What do I need to do to feel comfortable for Friday's game? Question mark, and that's for me to answer today. So
okay.
Just like little things like that get me thinking a little bit.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's something a little bit different, but
I think a lot of really successful people do this type of thing.
Yeah, it's something that I'm quite, I guess, I used to be scared of what I wrote down because I'm like, what if someone reads it? But I'm also like, it's so raw. It's so with how I'm feeling. It's so helps me understand that day exactly how I'm feeling. And I guess now it's just about trying to, like I said, I'm quite in touch with my emotions, but trying to use different words or trying to describe it in a way that I can go, bang, that's exactly how I felt, you know. And that was last night, just sitting there, just acknowledging that, I probably didn't feel the way I needed to, but I also acknowledged that I needed to be a good leader. I needed to probably send off some better vibes, and how can I do that better next time? How can I be a better leader these next few days for us to prepare best for Friday night's game? So
it's interesting you say that you're a bit, or in your words, what did you say? You were focused on yourself.
I was focused on myself, but I was also self-aware. I was quite, what do I have here? There were times I felt flat and not ready to have energy. I was conscious of needing to have good vibes and bring my teammates with me. But I think I was also quite focused on myself, which I think as you go on and as you experience things, I think the best leaders are the ones who bring their teammates with me or with you. And I think in that moment, I probably felt a lot of myself and was just trying to focus on myself, but I need to provide value and show those guys that no, they're just as important as what my job is, you know. And I think that's what I realised yesterday.
So when this has come out, you will have played the Panthers on Friday night, the first game of the season for the Melbourne Storm at home. I read your coach in the paper yesterday saying occasionally your team can win 2 in a row, but in his eyes, 3 in a row makes them an extremely special football team. From an external view, and you've obviously played against them, what is it about that particular rugby league team that has enabled them to dominate a really even competition?
Yeah, it's quite amazing what they've been doing, to be fair. It's
especially the father-son thing. Fascinating.
Yeah, crazy.
Amazing.
And
Imagine. Sorry to interrupt. When you came in here, then we were talking about cricket, and I said, occasionally play with a young bloke. Imagine the coach coaching his son.
Yeah.
Imagine the love and joy that must bring those two gentlemen.
And I've been quite fortunate. I've been fortunate enough. I played with Nathan, and we did schoolboys together in 2015, I think it was. And like Ivan was obviously there watching Nathan. I think he's had a pretty rough coaching career, to be honest, before this point, and he was getting hammered. He was getting hammered in the media, but he would still put himself out there, go watch Nath play, talk to all the parents. I know the impact that he's had on my parents, and the way he sort of came across to them and introduced himself, and he was just like a normal dad, you know. So you see that side of him, and him getting hammered in the media, and then coming out years later and having a three-peat with his son. It's like, well,
crazy.
It's an amazing story, and I guess having to have dealt with Nathan Ivan a few times, you genuinely feel good for him. You know sort of what they've gone through and how they've been hammered, and it's quite easy for the media to jump on board if father's coaching his son and picking him every week. But Nath's done that work now. He's done all the craft to get to where he is, and to be one of the most dominant halfbacks in the competition. So
last year's grand final is like,
that's unbelievable.
And then mate just says, I'm going to win this game by myself.
Yeah. Well, I turned it off with 20 minutes to go because I was like, I don't really want to see the celebrations. I just, you know what, the game's over. It was a good game, but they're done. And then, I got a message from mate being like, it ain't over. And
so you could watch the game but had no interest in the celebrations?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I could watch the game and just, I don't know. There's something about it where I just thought it was another missed opportunity, and one of those ones where I'll be hungry for it again, but I just can't watch it. So no, I think that what they do well is they've adapted to the times of the game. They haven't just kept the same way of playing 3 years in a row. They've changed the game, and they've got teams chasing them now to play their style. And I think that's one thing that you got to give the coach credit for is, he didn't just rest on his laurels. He was, let's make this team better. How can we be better? What squad have we got? All right, let's play this way now. And I think the way that they've adapted to the times and kept their sort of basics and fundamentals the same, which is, I think, quite important. But just the way they're going about it, and with the rule changes, and now they've sort of come out on top, and everyone's chasing their tail.
The name Papenhuyzen, where does that come from? What's the origin of that? name?
It's Dutch origin.
Is it Dutch?
Yes, yeah. So my obviously dad's side of the family, my opa, I think he worked on ships and met my nan on one of the ships.
Is she Dutch or not?
She's a Pommy.
Right.
So they met, and then came to Australia, and had my dad. So Papenhuyzen Dutch.
It's when you hear I say this to most guests, but the last 2 days I've immersed myself in you, and I'm not a massive rugby league watcher. I watch the Storm, and I wasn't joking when I said that. I watch when you're playing because I just love the way you are out in the field, and I love you even more now after having a 15-minute chat with you here. But it's a name when Rabs will say it, Papenhuyzen, and now Dan Ganane's got the same thing. It's just a name that it's a good name for commentary. Papenhuyzen.
Yeah, no, it does. It's quite cool though, because I remember when I first was coming through, and you'd play your Balmain under 16s in an afternoon, and you'd score a try, and the commentator would have no clue how to say it.
He's like, oh no,
and you'd have all these different versions. But I think what's really cool about it now is, like, you'll walk the streets and someone will say, oh, Papenhuyzen, and then they can say it. And
yes.
I get a kick out of that.
Yeah, that's
because
cool.
I think there's probably a long time where anyone in my family, like whether it's teachers at school or...
Well, it's how to spell it too.
How to spell it
Yeah.
and how to say it. And it's like, well, one thing that I think is really cool now is actually people know how to say it. And my Opa probably sits there, God love him, he's in a nursing home now, but like he'd just be so proud whenever we'd go over there.
Yeah, imagine when he came out and no one could pronounce his name, and now it's a nationally recognised
like
name.
Yeah. So it's that's a really cool feeling to be able to, I guess, put your name on the map, and for people to say it correctly, and I get a really big kick out of that, and yeah, I guess they'll be proud as well. But yeah, early days it was quite embarrassing. You nearly didn't want to score, so your name didn't get called out.
What type of stuff? What type of butchery did you get? All sorts.
Yeah, everything really. That's people would just stop at Pap really, because they go, I've got no clue how to say this. But so the poor ground announcers, they probably had a hard time back in the day, and yeah, now I'm just grateful that
everyone
knows how to say it. Yeah.
So you played a lot of sport growing up, yeah?
Yeah.
I saw some pictures in a piece you did with Channel 9, and I think you had a cricket bat in hand. Mm-hmm. So compare yourself to a modern Australian cricketer. What did you bat? Did you bowl? Were you a solid opener, or a dashing middle order, or a big ripping leg spinner? What were you?
I'm probably a self-proclaimed all-rounder.
All-rounder, okay.
All-rounder.
Bowling heat or bowling spin?
Bowling heat, but I could come back on and bowl off spin. That was my thing. I'd open the bowling and bowl quick.
Yep.
Whether that was consistent.
Right.
I think the speed was consistent, but direction definitely not. There were definitely a few wides and a few leg byes. But
then you'd come on later in the innings and roll out the offies.
Well, I could, yeah. I could. If we needed a bit of a change-up, I'd come out, roll the offies. But to tell a story about my cricketing,
yes, please
cricketing
do.
in my days, I went to a clinic where they sort of mark you up on how you're going, your batting, your bowling, and I thought I was doing all right. Went to the nets and smacked a few balls around and bowled pretty well. And I remember they pulled me over after and they said, mate, there's a new game that we think you'd be good at, but Test cricket's not it, mate. We think you'd be right at T20.
Right. Straight to the IPL for Papenhuyzen.
Straight to the IPL, but I don't think it was too big when I was playing back in the day. And, I sort of took that as a bit of an insult. I was like, I thought I was going all right, but I just had no patience. I'd go out there and smack the ball, and it'd be 3 metres outside off, and I'd run over and try belt it.
Did you ever have a day out where you made a big score or got a bag of wickets?
Yeah. I probably got more wickets than big scores. I probably was more a bit of a bowler because, sort of at that age when you're a bit younger, if you bowl a bit of express, you don't need to be bowling too consistent to pick up wickets.
No.
But no, I had some really memorable scores. Never actually got a century. I think we were sort of retiring, or our team would be bowled out by the time he got to 100.
What about a bag of wicket? Did you get one of those trophies with the claw with the ball?
With the ball in it.
Yes.
Yeah, got that. Nice 6 for.
6 was good work.
I think it was 6 for 14 or something.
That's
like
good
that.
numbers.
So great numbers. That was fun. But probably most memorable one was a 50 with one of my best mates. So he wasn't that good at cricket, but like we just were out there one day, Bernie Mullane, back in Sydney, and I think the thing about our team was there'd always be 1 or 2 that just score, and everyone else gets bowled out for a duck. So
I watch a lot of junior cricket. I see a bit of that.
So I reckon we had I got a 50, he got a 50. We obviously got to raise a bat at the same time, shake our hands, and just best mates who'd like played rugby league together, and then here we are playing cricket together, and it was probably Division 2 or something like that. But one of those moments where you sort of look back on, and I've still got the scorecards of those because I'm like, it was just one of those nostalgic feelings of like it wasn't rugby league, it was something else, and nice little 100 partnership with my best mate to win a game. So that was probably one of them, and I'd love to play cricket. Like, I love to still go down to the nets. I love to still do all of that because, like I said, it's quite nostalgic and I get a kick out of it. But I also think there's different learnings you can get from different sports and you can put it back into your own. So, love cricket.
Mate.
I think I'll go back and play it once I'm retired.
Well,
sure.
there's a spot for you at the mighty Barwon Head Seagulls. I have a very short window to play cricket because I'm away for most of the summer. But whenever I'm home, I try and play. Played on Saturday, and we were batting. And we were playing out at Wallington, which is down in my part of the world. And my new baseline, I got home and my wife said, how'd you go at cricket? Because we were batting. I said, great, I didn't do my calf. So that's my current baseline at the moment. And I've got an issue with finals coming up and the AFL starting at the same time. So I've got a bit of a rostering issue as well. Rugby League. What did you play? Under what? What's the first actual organised game you would have played, and who was it for?
Under sixes.
Under sixes.
Under sixes. Kellyville Bushrangers.
Right. Where's Kellyville?
So that's like northwestern Sydney.
Good name.
So Kellyville Bushrangers. Yeah, Ned Kelly. He was our mascot, and yeah, we sort of, I guess, Parramatta Eels now train out of there. So they obviously used to train in the heart of Parramatta, and now they've come out to Kellyville, and I played my first ever junior rugby league game on that field that they train at now. So,
cool. And can you remember your first game or you don't remember it?
No, I can't remember the first game. By all accounts, I was a bit of a sook the first few years.
Right.
I think I'd, sort of just dab as a coach. So I thought if I could just throw a tantrum on the field, he'd come over and save me. So, I guess if you were probably someone watching my early days of footy, you're probably thinking this bloke's never going to make it. But I think those experiences make you stronger, and here I am now. So, Kellyville Bushrangers.
So, I often ask this to the guests, and I always use this comparison, and one of them's really happy with the comparison. One of them's a bit flat with the comparison. You'll be able to figure it out. Ricky Ponting was always going to play cricket for Australia. He was a standout. He made runs right from the start. Justin Langer, not so much. Had to work and grind the whole way, and hello to both of those great men. Were you a standout junior footballer where the opposition were like, we're playing that Ryan, whatever his surname is, this week or not? And there's no time for modesty.
Yeah, no, it's a tough question. I wouldn't think so. I think I always had a little bit of talent, but once again, not enough to say he's going to make it. I think.
So you weren't wasn't right. This kid's always going to play.
I don't think so. And you obviously you hear. I guess parents with kids that you played with back in the day say, he was always going to make it. But I don't think so. And I didn't make any sides during primary school or anything. Kids make you sort of New South Wales and
that wasn't you.
Victoria. That wasn't me. No. So I played a bit of touch footy, and that's probably where I got my, I guess, confidence that I actually can sort of play this game. But rugby league, I was like, I'll do it. It's fun. I love it. But I don't think it's sort of going to be anything. I obviously had dreams and wanted to, but I think not having that pressure and not being like a prodigy, I think that's probably helped me.
Yeah, my word. And were you a lover of the game? Did you watch it? Did you have posters on your wall?
Yeah, I was a tragic.
Were you?
I'd nearly have every NRL team's jersey. Whenever Friday night footy was, whatever team was playing, I'd throw on that jersey and I'd go play like a little preview game in the front yard by myself. I'd commentate. I'd have footy cards in my room. Whenever Mum sent me to my room because I was in trouble, I'd pull them out and have a little 13v13 with the footy cards and commentate that. And if she took the footy cards away, I'd get the marbles out and pretend they were players. So it was just
she couldn't stop you then?
I was obsessed. with footy, no doubt. Probably had a few teams. I just liked players. I liked people who...
Which players did you like?
Well, I liked the guys who were probably a bit more like me, a bit smaller, probably weren't your typical NRL player, but they were quick. They were lightning. So I think Benny Barber was one that stands out when he had that run for the Bulldogs. Brett Kamali, he actually played for the Melbourne Storm, but I didn't know that when I was a kid. I'd sort of liked him when he was at the Sharks and then when he went to the Bulldogs. But yeah, I just liked the way they go about it. They were little, they weren't scared to throw themselves in there, and I guess that's probably my first realisation that you actually can make it if you're not that big. And you get people along the journey saying, you're going to be too small, you need to put on weight, but I just think that's a bit of an excuse, to be fair. I think if you're willing and able, you'll find a way. And I was lucky enough that I had some good I guess, people around me to nurture me and take me on that journey with them, and not necessarily push me hard, because I think there's a real fine balance of being pushed hard, but then also just being nurtured in a way to, like, you can make it, this is what you have to do, but then they step away. And I think that's something that I've found really important, is I didn't have someone that hammered me all the time. It was like, these are the tools, this is what you'll probably figure out, throw me into there, and then I got to figure it out for myself. And then I've just sort of built from there. But
did you like, can you remember meeting as a kid? I'm sure you came across the professional rugby league players. Did you meet these guys?
Yeah. So I met, I think Nathan Hindmarsh might have come out to one of our trainings.
Big Hindy.
When I was a kid.
And would that be stars in the eyes for you?
Yeah, just one of those moments where you're like, wow, these guys are real, and like they're just cool dudes. Like, I was a little 8-year-old kid, and I think I was wearing my Sharks jersey, and Hindy come out to training, and I don't know if his brother might have been at the Sharks or something like that, but like, he didn't treat me any differently, and I think that's probably something I've come to realise is, like, I don't care who you go for, if you're not a Melbourne Storm fan, if you're a Rugby League fan, I get a massive kick out of that. And I was one of those kids, so I still feel like, once again, it ties back to the journaling, I really try to relate to how I felt when I was a kid, and when we go back and do things with the junior clubs, I try to put myself back in those shoes, because it's a moment where you don't have to do much, like even just being there, they get such a great kick out of it. But
and what's that like when a kid comes up to you and has, the number 1 Storm jersey on his back, and he looks up to Ryan Papenhuyzen?
Oh, I love it. You sort of see the look in their eyes too. Yeah. It's like they're just staring at you with their jersey, and it's like, it's such a great feeling. And I try to acknowledge that every time I see a number 1 or Papenhuyzen on the back. I thank them for for doing it. And I guess it's probably one of those things where it's just a jersey, but even with a haircut or a mullet, and you sort of hear people say, "Oh, my son got a haircut because of you," and I just think it's a really cool feeling, because I want to be a role model, and I want to be someone who can give back and share my experiences, for the hope that there might be a little kid back in Kellyville at the moment that's liking his footy, but it is a bit rough for him, or he's been told he's too small, and if I can be that guy for them to express themselves and want to be themselves and just want to be better in life in general, then I think that's something that I get the most sort of gratitude out of, and something I'd like to strive for the rest of my career.
I love it. Talking about the mullet, I was just thinking about this on the way up, who my favourite mullet wearers are in sport. Do you look at someone else's mullet, because yours is elite, do you look at someone else's and think, right, that's my next step that I've got to get to reach the full mullet standard? Yeah,
I think it's hard not to go past Vaslenka.
Yeah,
he's just long and luscious, isn't it?
It's luscious.
It's
well kept. It's well flowing. Kept, it's bouncy.
Yeah, I don't know what he does to it. I don't know what he feeds it.
I don't know.
It's quite impressive, but I think he's probably the gold standard for sport. I think you look at the live golf, like we're saying, Cam Smith.
Yes, so you've got 2 of mine.
He's a bit different, a bit rough around the edges, a bit curly, bit short, but I think he's got a pretty impressive one. And I think the thing I like about it is, like, he's at the top of his sport and he's rocking it,
Yes.
Like, there's something about it. I don't know, me personally, this like probably goes a little bit deeper here, but I think it gives you that confidence to express yourself.
The hair.
Does it? And that's probably what I've found, and what you see from kids getting it, and that's the feedback I've got from parents, is like, he's been more himself. He's expressing himself, and I wouldn't have been allowed it at school. So there's part of me that's, I don't know if it's resentment or whatnot, but I'm just like, I get why school's there, and I get the discipline part of things, and I know it's probably not the most presentable haircut you can have, and I understand that, but if you can give a kid a license to be who they want to be and explore things, and I think that's just a great power to have, and I probably realised that once I got the mullet.
So for me, I was thinking top 3 mullets in Australian sport, in no particular order, was Smith, Cameron, Smith Bailey, and Papenhuyzen Ryan.
I'll take
I got one extra for you that really thrills me, because this chap has a Australian partner, and that's where he's picked it up, and he uses the term. Do you have any interest in Formula One?
Yeah.
Valtteri Bottas. He's
rocks
a real rude, not as lengthy and flowing as yours and Basilenko's, but a short with a real flick at the back, and you occasionally see him wearing a VB singlet. And this is a bloke from Scandinavia. I appreciate Valtteri's mullet.
Right. Yeah,
I appreciate Valtteri's mullet.
Actually, yeah, I think was he rocking it when they come down under last time? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's grown it out for this one coming.
Well, I don't know. Well, I only saw him on his helmet in Bahrain last week, but he's definitely rocking it in last year's Drive to Survive. If you weren't going to be a rugby league player, you're obviously a really well-spoken and I'm sure a clever chap. Was there something you wanted to do with your life?
It's a great question. I think it would have. I think it's varied since I've started footy. I don't think I would have been a confident speaker straight out of school. I think take footy out of the equation. I think I would have probably been a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And
with a mullet, the kids would have loved you.
Well, I don't know if the mullet would have come around,
Well, mate, you might not have expressed it, but I think they would have loved Mr. Papenhuyzen.
Yeah, no, so I don't know. I'm probably a teacher. My mum's a teacher. I feel like it's only natural. I really liked our culture at our school where a lot of the ex-students went back and taught, and it's probably only now I see the value of teachers and how important their role is into shaping a kid's future, you know. Just being someone that might believe in them a little bit more than what their parents do or mentors do. And I could probably see myself doing that, but I think I've learnt a lot from playing footy and what I want out of it. And ideally now I think, I don't think I'd like to work as hard as what I do now. Once I finish footy, I'd like to probably have things in place, whether that's some investment set up or just being able to be a mentor or be sort of a life coach where I can direct my energy that I've learned and everything I've learned into something that's going to make someone else better. And that is sort of like a teacher, I guess. So I think it's always been there of wanting to help people, and in what capacity, I don't know. But I think I'd like to get to a spot where I still have the freedom that I have, that I can keep learning and exploring different things, but then be able to give back and teach or be a mentor or have a successful business where I can guide people through that. And I think that's where I'm learning at the moment is the whole business side of things and wanting to be better and putting things in place so I can do that, and I don't have to worry about having to go to a 9 to 5 and do all that. I like to educate myself enough to be able to help, and in what capacity, still trying to figure it out.
I reckon any organisation or individual would be very lucky to have you. Got a few notes here that Tommy put together. I'm not typically big on notes, but there's some ones here that I just want to, certain games or periods I want to touch on with you to sort of bring out your full story of success, and then some real tough times, probably as tough a times as any athlete in Australia in the last couple of years. So the West Tigers signed as a 16-year-old. So, like, what happens on day one? Is that with the full squad, or is that with the junior program, or like you're 16 and you're little as it is? I'd imagine.
I think so. Probably, I think my first contract, it would have been 16. It would have been like $3,000 or something, just tiny. But it was like an under-20s contract, so I never actually got to train with the NRL squad.
Right.
It was always sort of juniors, 20s. But I had probably 3 years in that 20 system. And didn't really know foot. Like I knew how to play it. Obviously, I'd played it for a while, but I didn't understand what it took. I thought what I'd done to get me to that point was going to be enough, and I could just keep doing that week in, week out. And then I had a few injuries during 20s. I did a few hamstrings. Probably played 5 or 6 games in 2 years, and I guess because I was preoccupied with university and
were you studying?
Home. Yeah, I was studying physical activity and health science at ACU. So I was doing that.
Australian
Catholic University.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was studying, and then I think because I was preoccupied with other things like whether that was work or uni or being with my family, I don't think I put enough energy into footy and what it took to be a professional athlete. So I probably just cruised through those years and probably felt a little bit sorry for myself of I'm just getting injured. It's not my fault. There's nothing more I can be doing, and and just sort of going through the motions. And I think that's something that obviously we'll get onto the journey, but I think moving down to Melbourne's changed my whole perspective on things. But I dead set in that period when I was signed as a 16-year-old, I still thought I'd just cruise in the first grade. I didn't think I'd make a career out of it, but I thought, I'll play a few games, and you just think that's how the path is. And I probably didn't have anyone before me that I could get a gauge off until I moved down to Melbourne. But yeah, that's sort of how it came about. Signed at 16, a few 20s games, and
then what happens? Does someone say at West, you're not for us, or
no?
Because
So
it's a very different system. So we obviously have a draft in the AFL. You have no choice of where you're going. How did it work in your world? So how do you end up from West? Have a drink of your what did Tommy bring you in here?
Iced decaf latte.
Iced decaf latte.
I'm not decaf trained. Don't judge.
Mullet wearing iced decaf latte. Tommy, is that what we got? I'll shuffle to my right. Okay, you mustn't have got my best side on the camera. So what happens?
So it's not. It's funny. Like, it's not a draft. It's pretty much a free agent. So as soon as you come off contract, there's about, so let's say 20. That would have been 2016, 17. So when you've got a year left on your contract, you're able to negotiate with other teams. Before that, it's only the club you're at you're allowed to negotiate. So that happens at November 1.
Okay.
November 1's the date. So yeah, pretty much I was coming off contract, or I still had another year at the Tigers.
Were you getting love from the Tigers in this early contract
yeah,
situation?
they didn't push me out the door or anything, by no means. I think they were actually quite respectful with how they went about it, and they put their trust in me, which I respect massively, and I'm forever grateful for that they did that. But excuse me, they put their trust into me to be at the club, and it just got to a stage where I was coming off contract, and Tigers put an offer to re-sign me. So I'm not sure of the figures of it, but it was a 3-year contract, sign on, and then Melbourne just come knocking at the door, being like, "Oh, we want to sign you as well."
And when it's Melbourne,
yeah.
Does that mean you get a call from Craig Bellamy, or no? It's an administration style situation.
It's all sort of done through my manager to start.
Who's your manager?
Clinton Shavosky.
Okay.
So he, they sort of, I guess, talk, and then he'll correspond with me being like, "Oh, Melbourne have given you an offer," and it's like,
what's your initial thought when you hear that?
Yeah, like Melbourne, like Melbourne Storm. He goes, yeah. I was like, what? And Clinton, obviously, he played a massive career playing rugby league, and I think he was even a bit shocked, being like, yeah, like Melbourne, like we should probably take this, And,
right.
And because they've got such a great rap for turning average NRL players into regular first graders, that really appealed to me in the stage of life I was. And it wasn't just that, it was the mentors I was going to be taught under. You got Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, Cameron Smith, Craig Bellamy.
Incredible.
The Bromwich brothers, Kafusis, the list goes on. And it was, I don't think I realised at the time, I was like, I've always admired the Storm from afar because of how successful they've been. But I think from talking to Clinton, he just reassured me that like not many people ever get this opportunity at 19. I think it was 18 at the time, 18 to go down to Melbourne and work their craft under the best fullback to ever play the game. And I was like, that is so true. And there was a few rumours at the time that they were trying to sign a few other fullbacks in that position that were my age, and it was sort of like that probably kicked me into gear a little bit, being like, no, like fuck that, like I want that,
Yeah.
And just got to a decision where Melbourne matched the Tigers offer, and with mum and dad's blessing, they just said, you've got to do it. I think they understood the enormity of it as well, and yeah, just from there it was bang. You have a meeting with Craig and Frank, and
so that meeting, Craig came on this show. I reckon it was in the back of COVID because it was via Zoom. Yeah,
Yep.
We were in lockdown. He was fantastic, but I'll never forget. We often get the guest on Zoom to record their end of the conversation on the phone. It's not a big detail. And then they WhatsApp me through the audio. He had to get someone from the club to come round to his joint to get the file out of his phone to send it through to me. But my takeaway from that conversation, and he's a modest man, and I'll ask you more about him, but his answer to the question, why have you been so good and been able to turn journeymen, blokes that have been left out of other clubs, injured players, into elite parts of a team. And he said, I'm very clear on each player's exact role. I tell them exactly what they want them to do. If they're up to that standard to play that role, they'll get a game and they'll fit in with the system. So what did he say he wanted from you? And, he's obviously influential in you getting down there.
Yeah.
Like, what was he seeing in you?
Yeah, I don't think he ever guaranteed anything, and I think that was probably what I needed was, no, mate, you've got to work hard. You work hard, you'll get your rewards, and he's very big on that. He's got a quote that he goes by as sort of that hard work puts you where the good luck can find you, and he's I guess you see him do that. But that meeting we had, it was like, oh, you're not guaranteed to play first grade, but come down here, we've got a few good mentors, and you'll work hard, and you probably won't work as hard as ever in your life, but we think you can get something out of it. And I was like, you know what, there's that little drive in me that I probably haven't achieved what I needed to achieve, and the Premiership's always been a massive goal, and I thought, you know what, I think I can do that at Melbourne, whether I get my chance or not. I don't know if I'll ever play first grade, but I think I'm going to give my best chance by going down there. And
so when you signed on, if Billy was the number one fullback, where were you in the list of fullbacks?
Oh, yeah. Gee, pretty far down. So you sort of had Billy, Jerome Hughes, who's now a halfback, was a fullback.
Yep.
Scott Drinkwater, who's the main fullback at the Cowboys up in North Queensland now. Then there was probably me. So
fourth string.
Yeah, fourth string.
So you roll down there, right?
Yeah.
You turn up for your first day, this little fella, and you've got Smith, Cronk, Slater, and Bellamy. Like, what's your first thoughts when you roll out on the track for the first time?
Well, it probably happened a few weeks before I actually moved down there. I remember I had a night out in Sydney. It would have been Friday night or something. Went to Hillside, up Castle Hill there, with a few boys. I would have just freshly turned 18, and I remember waking up on Saturday morning to a call, and I was like, what's going on here? I was a little bit dusty, sort of picked it up, answered it. Hey, mate, it's Billy Slater from the Storm. Heard you coming down, mate. Can't wait to work with you. And I was like, I've got to be tripping. This got to be a dream. This got to be some sort of...
So this is to you like, wow, this is Billy Slater.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember just turning to my side, picking up my phone off the bed, being like, what the fuck? Like, no way he's calling me. Anyway, my voice was like cracking, and I was just so nervous. I was like, oh yeah, hey mate, yeah, like really looking forward to it. And so if you need anything, you got my number now, give me a buzz. And like, here's an 18-year-old kid who probably hasn't had the best run the past few years, and let alone speak to first graders. You know, you might cross them in the pathway at the Tigers there, but to get a phone call from the Kangaroos fullback, the Melbourne Storm winning Premiership, Clive Churchill medal winning fullback, that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, fast forward a few weeks later, and I think they just had World Cup, so they didn't get back till January, but it was probably more the staff impact. You know, you got the head physio, you got the head strength and conditioner, you got the head speed coordinator messaging you, being like, let's get in early and let's do some work. You know, like, they're meant to be on holidays, but they're asking me to come in, and I'm, like I said, I'm this 18-year-old kid who hasn't done anything in the game, and they're treating me probably like they'd treat Billy Slater or Cameron Smith or Cooper Cronk. And I think me seeing that early on just went, no, you know what? I've really got to give back. I've really got to work hard. I've got to earn my spot, because they don't offer this to anyone. And once they did come back, once again, I was in awe. But the way, it's so special how they do it, but they're just the way they make you feel like you're their best mate. And that's probably something I've taken out of it. And I'd love to have that trait, and I do work hard in it, but there wasn't one time where I was like in a game being like, oh, I shouldn't say anything because it's Cameron Smith. They were welcoming it, you know, they were like, give me feedback, you know, you need to speak your mind. Even if it's wrong, it gives us an idea of where you're at. And just to have that transparency from someone who's at the top of their game to someone who hasn't even started yet, it was pretty special. But like there's rough years in there as well. Like I said, I didn't get my opportunity straight away. I was fourth string, and I think there was a period in 2018 going into the 19 season. So the year before I debuted, where I still wasn't getting a run. I probably didn't get any raps from the coaches. But like, what happens, right? You live fourth string fullback. Of course, they're not going to put too much time technically into the game. Like, physically, I was getting the reps. I was doing everything. But it was probably more I wasn't getting involved in those video sessions, and probably feeling a bit sorry for myself. And looking back at it, I probably should have approached them, but I sort of sat back waiting for it to happen to me. And
did you think it was going to happen, or did you think, oh, hang on?
I just thought like, oh, they don't care about me, you know,
okay.
like. And
did you still believe at that point, I'll play for the Melbourne Storm, or you're like, ooh.
No. It's funny. Like I didn't think I'd be a regular first grader until I'd played a few games.
Okay.
Like I thought, like you probably have a bit of imposter syndrome, really, of like, do I really deserve this? But we will touch on that. But I think, there's probably a period 2018 going into 2019 where I was sitting down with my manager and he's like, I don't know if they'd got you in their future plans. It's like there's one other club that's interested, but like, and I remember talking about like, it just sucks. Like I don't know. And it was probably that, once again, that victim mentality of when before I moved down there, it probably just came back a little bit, and being away from home and not feeling like you had that number one support network around you. And it probably wasn't until that meeting where I sat down with Clinton and he's just like, mate, there's probably only one other club that'd be interested. I think you just give this pre-season a crack and ask questions and see where you can get better, and just throw everything at it, because we'll see after. But he backed me just to the hilt. He just said, mate, I back you. I think you can be one of the great fullbacks. Just keep asking questions, keep being persistent. Things will happen. And long story short, I think Drinky got injured in a trial. Slatsy retired. Mm-hmm. So it was just Hughesy in front of me. And then I started getting a few reps at fullback. And then sort of midway, I debuted in round 4 that next year.
Just before you tell me about your debut, you said that the coach said you're going to have to work hard. Mm. In Craig Bellamy's world, what is working hard? Yeah,
well, I think physically working hard's his thing, but I think what I've learnt over time is, it's not just physical, it's what you do off the field. It's how you interact with your teammates. Are you really working hard at building relationships? In my position, that's really important. Building relationships, studying the game. Those are probably the things that I've learnt, and now working hard is, where I think when I first got down there, I thought it was just physical. I'm putting everything I can into training. I'm this 70-kilo bloke getting absolutely belted by the forwards in contact.
So you were 70 kilo?
Yeah.
What are you now?
First 83.
Right.
So 70 when I first got down here, like physically, I cannot be working any hard. I'm exhausted. Is this really what footy is about? That was my thought.
But it was the other working hard.
But it was the other working hard where I thought that's where I figured out, I think the point of difference is, and no, you have to work physically hard without a doubt, but there's other areas that if you work hard at that too, it just makes that a little bit easier. So that's what I figured.
Debut, what are your memories of it?
Debut, 2019 round 4 against the Bulldogs. So
home or away?
Home. Yeah, so home. Bulldogs were the team I went for when I was a kid. So it was one of those moments where
family come down?
Well, everyone came down, mum, dad, brother, sister.
They do a jumper presentation?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, so Billy Slater presented my jersey, and it was one of those surreal moments where I probably didn't play in the position I wanted to. Like I came off the bench and played in the ruck, which I did for the first few games of my career, and that was an experience within itself. But I remember going on, probably didn't play the best game, but that feeling of running on and the crowd not knowing who you are, but they were cheering, and it's probably just one of those moments where you reflect on your whole NRL journey and your coaches you had in your junior days, and the guys that you play with in under 7 sending you a message, and like you're doing it for those people, and I think that was a really special feeling, and one that seems like a long time ago now, but I know not many people get to do it, so forever grateful that I did get that opportunity, and I've had some good luck since.
Well, and you've had some bad luck as well. Let's talk about the good luck first. You won the Premiership in 2020, and you won the Clive Churchill medal. So it was funny because you were saying, "Oh, geez, this bloke's rung me, and he's the Kangaroos fullback, and he's a Clive Churchill medalist." You are now a Clive Churchill medalist. What did it mean? Well, firstly, tell me about getting the ball 20 out from their attacking line just after half time. So you're playing the Panthers. I watched it 5 times because it's just, I don't know. I don't want to sound stupid, but there's a poetry to the speed you have when you have the ball, and you just look athletic. And as soon as you get the ball and you get through that first line, the first time I've watched it back, I'm thinking there's no way anyone's going to catch you. So what's your memory of that try?
Yeah, it's all
a cracker.
It is like one of those things that, like, when it does pop up, and you watch it, it's just like, I can't believe I did that, you know? It just
How
was
many
just
times
automatic.
you watched it? Are you all
I
those
watched it
YouTube
a few
views I was
times.
looking at?
Yeah. All my different YouTube
It's
accounts.
got a few views.
No, it is good, and like one of those ones where it just pops up, and you dream of playing an NRL grand final, you dream of winning one, but then scoring a try in a grand final, I think you could see by my reaction once I scored, it was just pure joy, you know, and I think it put us up 26-0, so you're sort of thinking, gee, that might be the last try.
But they came back hard.
And they come back.
Did you start to get edgy?
That was my lesson learnt, I think, was you can never get comfortable. And fast forward to last year, you look what they did to Brisbane.
Yeah.
But pretty special feeling, and one of those ones where you feel like you've contributed to the game, and I think I'd love plenty more of those moments, that's for sure. And I was quite young and naive to it all. That was only my second year of first grade, and I think now experiencing what I've experienced, I think you sort of know the hard work that it takes, and that was probably a compound of the 20 years before where I'd sort of been knocked back or worked really hard, and you don't see the joy in those disappointing times, but when you do achieve something of that great, you sort of look back and it'd be like, it was definitely worth it. And now I think I'm going through that phase again where I go, okay, it's been tough, whatever I've been through, but there's going to be something at the end of it, and I'm going to get out of it, and I'm going to love it, and it's going to be probably the best thing that's happened in my life. And now I just need to ride that wave because, I've been on the down one for a long time.
I'm trying to give people an understanding of not only you, but of the Melbourne Storm, because they're a fascination, because I think it'd be fair to say in the last 20 years they've been the most successful football club, probably in the country. In fact, it's not debatable. It's fact. So after you win a premiership, like immediately afterwards, do you have any recollection of either before what he said or after what he said, the coach to the playing group?
Probably not. I think one thing that stands out was we all got to choose someone to write us a letter before. So we got that on the captain's run, so the day before the game, and we all sat in the lockers there at ANZ Stadium, and where we were to play the next day, and we all got these letters from these people we asked to write to us.
Who was your letter from?
I asked Billy Slater to write me one. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's.
Do you still have the letter?
Don't have the. Oh, I would have it, but I don't remember sort of where I've put it. So
what's the gist of what he said to you? This is funny again now, because this is the bloke that rang you. Yeah,
exactly. It's this guy that you've watched on TV achieve what he's done. It's the guy that called you when you first got down to Melbourne. It's the guy that presented you your debut jersey. Now it's the guy who's writing me on grand final eve a message, and it was one of those cool moments because I don't think he'd ever told me sort of how proud or how he'd seen how hard I'd been working, and that message just said that. He said, back yourself, you've done all the hard work. I've seen you go through that process of being to where you were and where you are now, and you've got some great teammates around you. You've got guys who've done it before. Don't think too hard about it. Go out there and kill it. It was something along those lines, and that was quite cool. I got quite emotional, and the impact now looking back at the impact that he's had in my whole career, whether it's been through the great times of that, through when it was developing and becoming a fullback, and even now going through my injury struggles, he's been through that whole thing and achieved some great things. So, I think to get a message from him on grand final eve being like, you've got my tick of approval, that was a pretty sick feeling.
You played a game where you scored 4 tries in the space of, I reckon it's 11 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
Is it Canterbury?
Canterbury or Broncos, I think. Maybe Broncos.
Yeah, actually it's Broncos.
Yeah.
Round 21, so after the Premiership. 4 tries in 11 minutes. What? And it's, again, it's beautiful to watch it, even for someone that doesn't really understand the full intricacies of the game. What is the game like when you're in that moment where you're dominating the game, where everything you do touches to goal, turns to goal?
I think obviously I get a lot of credit for the 4 tries in 11 minutes, but I think the way our team plays, I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I cherry picked a few of those tries. I just pushed with someone else and they gave it to me. And
I did notice blokes whipping it out to you. You did the last 12 metres.
I did the last 12 metres.
Dash, yeah.
Like there is something.
But it was just, again, I don't really understand the game, but I could watch the game as a sports fan and think whatever they're doing beautifully at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's just understanding your teammates and the game style you guys play, and there's hard work that goes into it. You do those training sessions, and it's easy not to push with that person because you're getting ready for the next play. But our team that we have, it's like you've got to push on everything because everyone's going to be a chance of going through. And I remember thinking in that game that, gee, if we get that ball over there, like we might make a break here. I could be a chance. And you're just getting this flow state of understanding how your teammates are going to play, what holes they might run. And if I put myself in this picture, for the betterment of the team, I might not get the ball, but it might take a defender away from him. And in that game, a few passages of play, and 11 minutes later, I had 4 tries.
Which was incredible. And there was a guy that I know you're a North Melbourne man in the AFL, aren't you? There was a guy, I follow the Hawks. There was a guy that played for Hawthorn and went on to win a couple of premierships with Adelaide, called Darren Jarman, and he had the ability. It's the best balk I've seen in AFL, where he's shaping to kick or he's shaping to go one way, draws the hand out and then brings it back in, and he just ankle breakers, my son calls them now, because he just tripped people over. What's involved? Is it natural or learned? You or any of you can do it, because I watch it. Tell me how you dummy people in rugby league, because I was trying to slow it down what you were doing, and I couldn't quite follow the movement. It even involves the eyes looking one way and going the other way. Can you? Is it so natural for you that you can't break it down, or is it a learned thing?
I think it's a feel thing. There's plenty of times I've thrown a dummy and the defender hasn't moved and I've been smacked. So
Right.
I think it's like you obviously see the really good parts of things, but I think there's times where you do it and it doesn't work, and I think you get lucky sometimes, but I think it's a feel thing of you've played footy for this long now. You sort of get a feel if a defender's going to slide off or he's going to stay onto you, and then you combine a bit of fatigue in it as well. Sometimes your read isn't right because you're fatigued and your brain's a bit fuzzy, and you go to throw it, but the defender hasn't moved, but your brain tells you, oh no, I've still got to hold it, but then the defender's there and smacks you. So I probably think plenty of reps done. And
how important are the eyes?
I'd say eyes and hips.
Eyes and hips.
Eyes and hips are probably indicator.
Because it's different to AFL. Obviously, in NRL, your defensive line is coming straight at you, so you're looking straight into someone's eyes, aren't you?
And it's probably something I've learnt from touch football is like you can look at someone's hips and sort of get the direction they're going to go, but some guys are really skillful and they'll turn their hips but still be able to get in. And that's where you find the fine line between really good defenders and guys who probably don't have those cues yet. And I think you got to try work it out, but sometimes it is a little bit of guesswork as well. And I feel like the way that the game's going now, it's more technical and people are trying to hack the system a little bit, and it does work. But I guess you got to keep putting yourself in the picture and turning up, and sometimes it might and sometimes it not. But I feel like the one time that you don't try it might be the one time that it might work. So you just got to keep persisting. And
in a match, like you would have a GPS on.
Yep.
I know the numbers for the AFL. Or how far do you run in a typical NRL game?
Yeah, so I'll probably do 9Ks.
9K, and what is that broken up into jogging and actual bursts?
High speed meters, so high speed sort of sprint. There wouldn't be too many low speed, I think.
So the majority of the 9K
is high speed, And I think it'd be me, the halfback and the 5'8".
Yep.
We'd probably cover the most ground. Then under that's probably anywhere between 5 and 7 Ks.
And in the game, how far into the game, like, do you have a heart rate monitor on?
No.
Okay, how far into the game is it tremendously taxing from a cardio perspective?
Ooh, I think it goes in waves. I think like throughout the whole game, there's probably there's plenty of periods where you need to get your breath and catch back up, but hopefully we've scored a try, so you get that sort of break in play.
Yep.
But it's hard to probably put a number on it, but there's times where you just move and just being like, this is not. I need to stop in play here. But
and the tackling component again, because it's front on tackling. When there's a big guy coming at you, right? two parts to this. You've got to tackle a big guy. What's the main key to stop a big boy at speed?
Well,
there's some big units that like really cover the ground.
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask. I try to tackle someone and shatter my kneecap. So.
Wow, which we'll get to.
I mean, we obviously take part in all those contact sessions as well, and for me, my position, probably defending more close to the line, it's stopping the ball.
Okay.
Whereas if you're a bit further
close
out,
to your own defensive line.
Yeah, because you obviously don't want them to score a try, but further out, I think it's just trying to make good contact, stepping in, and if you can get some help with you, then that's going to help.
And when you've got the ball and they're, do you know how many times you get tackled in a game? Do you get stats like that?
Yeah, it'd be like 20 to 30.
So that's 25 really solid contacts. How do you protect your body to a front-on defensive line?
Yeah, you just brace yourselves.
You
just brace yourself, and you sort of know it's going to come. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you break through the line and someone hits you from the side, and you do all those reps at training to get your body used to that. And yeah, I think you got so much adrenaline running through your body that it doesn't hurt. I mean, 2 days later you'll be walking around struggling, but in that moment it's just like you just get up. You need to try to get a quick play of the ball so your team can get back on the front foot. And yeah, I think the adrenaline that you feel during a rugby league game, there's no other feeling I've had quite to it.
And the weights to prepare, obviously you would do a lot of leg weights, I get that. But when you see you guys compared to other football codes, you're really big through the shoulders and the traps. Is that the upper body focus?
Yeah, well, we still do a lot of leg work, but predominantly a lot of back exercises, back, shoulders, because a lot of guys have like injuries around their shoulders and backs. It's like, let's try build your muscles up around there so that if it does cop a blow, another muscle might be able to help you out. Very combat sport. So I'd say it's quite a good mix. We're probably doing legs in season twice a week, upper body 3 times a week, and primarily back, neck, shoulder focused. And you just try lift with the heavy boys and then see what you can get.
How heavy are the heavy boys?
What
are these boys squatting in the gym? Those big.
Oh, silly numbers, silly numbers.
Give me some numbers.
Gee, you'd have guys having just 200 on their back during the week, like
on the squat rack.
On the squat rack, yeah.
200 kilos.
200 kilos, and like a powerful, like explosive
bang
squat, and I'm just like, I'll just stick to my 80 kilo squats. But no, it's cool to see because you're like, we're obviously not we're not weightlifters, we're not professional weightlifters, but
to do that in the week of a game,
to see the way some guys move it. You can see how they break tackles during the game because it definitely correlates. And
your diet to stay at your weight as a little fella, are you have to be a protein shake and creatine man, or like are you excessive, like dedicated to your diet 1 to 10? Where do you sit on it all?
I think I'm learning to be better with it.
Yep.
I think I used to be under the impression that you just look at the weight on the scale and that was how you're going to play that week. But I think, like we said earlier, I think that preparation starts weeks and months in advance of you've got to be putting the right foods into you so your gut then speaks to your brain in the right way, then your brain's able to get your body to move a certain way. And I think I'm improving that as we go on throughout my career. And early on I'd order Macca's maybe once a week and sit there and be okay with that, whereas now I'm like, there's still time for that, don't get me wrong, but if I'm preparing for a game, I need to get a certain amount of foods in each week, and my big thing at the moment is 30 different plants a week, whether that's fruit and vegetables.
30
but
plants
just trying
a week.
to fit 30 into my week, and that gives me confidence to be like, I'm getting enough nutrients into my gut.
So 30 plants, so like 30 bits of fruit or a vegetable or whatever.
Yeah,
leaves,
vegetable, fruit,
30
leaves.
different sets, right?
Green leafy is probably the priority. But
it's hard, the green leafy, because it just doesn't taste.
It doesn't taste good, but like.
Oh no, my wife tells me all the time you got to eat more green leaves.
So I'm like, I'm the same as you. I've actually learnt to like them now, but only because I've like transitioned it in. So I'll go get something like a risotto for dinner, and I'll go buy like a bag of lettuce from Woolworths, and I'd have a scoop of risotto, and I'd just shove lettuce in my mouth and chew it with it. So it like tastes like the risotto, but it's still
like
lettuce.
My kids, mate. You sound like my 12-year-old.
But then like now I've sort of got to a spot where like this sounds so rogue, but I could buy a bag of lettuce and just eat it because
right.
I'm
so
like,
you've changed it.
I know it's going to make me better, and I've sort of just like drip feed it in, but now I've got like a tolerance to it, so I'll eat it. But 30 plants a week, so
it's a good guy. The thing that I've started having as I was trying to put on some weight, and I was like, how can I eat this? And now I just cruise through it. Cottage cheese.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's good protein.
Yeah,
doesn't taste like anything. It's all right.
Okay.
Put a bit of peanut butter in there.
Cottage cheese and peanut butter.
Yeah, add that to your 30. Now, round 10, 20, 21, and this is going to be more and more of a relevant discussion in all football codes, concussion. What, there's a lot more of this going on in cricket. Will Pekowski at the moment got concussed again, the poor bugger. Obviously, Angus Brayshaw's just retired in the AFL. What happened and what were the after effects for you? And I'll move on after that. I got another question.
Yeah, no, round 10, it was Magic round actually. So every NRL team played up in Brisbane that weekend, and great fanfare, great thing the NRL do, and generally excited for it. And just got some footy at the back of shape, and the centre jammed me and sort of collected me with a swinging arm, and like you think it's just another sort of concussion, but
how many times would you have been concussed?
Before that,
I
reckon maybe four times. Pretty bad one in 2018, and then just a couple times school rugby. So I copped a bit of a knock. Obviously complained. I had a little bit of neck pain, so probably looked a bit worse than what it was. But like the Medicad come out and stretched me off, and one of those moments where you just think, oh, it's a head knock. I've had a couple, I'll be fine. But 12 weeks later, and I still hadn't played another NRL game. So
tell me about the symptoms.
Yeah, so just
12 weeks later.
Yeah, 12 weeks later. Really irritable. I had a girlfriend at the time, and she flew up, and I guess was with me, and I really needed that, but I was the biggest asshole. I just didn't want to be around anyone. Sunlight, like any sort of light would hurt me. Like I just...
The light would hurt you.
I had real light sensitivity, noise sensitivity, really irritable, just not myself. It was quite scary. I think for the first week I thought, like, it'll pass, and then so next week goes along and you get a little bit better and you go back out, but I'd go back out for half an hour into a team environment. I'd be like, I just can't. Like I just had this headache, my neck was sore. Once again, just really irritable. People would speak to me. I'd probably come off as a bit rude. And then as you progress throughout those weeks, I think it got to like week 6 or 7, I started doing some walking activity again, and I'd walk and I was like this isn't normal, And
how would you feel when you were walking?
Oh, just like tired, and exhausted, not myself. And it took me probably... I went and seen a specialist, and he reassured me everything would be all right. And, it's the club were doing a really good thing by being conservative with it and not rushing me back. And as hard as that was, like, I'm really grateful that they were, because I think it's put me in a good stead now where I do understand it more. And, it was really disappointing, because I sort of came back and I felt good, but there's probably a bit subconsciously where I probably wasn't there or wasn't thinking about my role as specific as what I should have been. And I came back into a side where we'd won like 20 in a row. We were flying. Like we'd playing really good footy, and I think because I'd experienced success that year before with the Premiership, I sort of was probably a little bit selfish in thinking I don't want to miss this again. And it's a tough one. Like you look back in hindsight, should I just sat the whole year out and not disrupted the side? That's probably something that's going to hang there for a while. That I probably could have done that and been fine and whatnot. But I got back to playing, and you could just tell that I probably wasn't where I should have been, and playing the way I should have. And even just like video sessions and connecting with my teammates, there was still a bit of me, because I'd train hard and then we'd go back to like, I just didn't have energy for anyone else. It was still like, physically I felt fine. I didn't have the headaches. My neck was feeling good, but I just still felt a little bit irritable. Whether it was just subconsciously not being ready, I'm not too sure. But scary period of time. And like I said, it's a big thing in sport at the moment, and I'm really grateful that it is, because it's a real thing. And like we sign up to rugby league, and we sign up to these combat sports where it's a possibility. But I think if we can educate ourselves more and be a bit more conservative around it, then it's just going to give you that I guess, confidence within yourself that, no, they are doing the right thing for me. And, it's hard to tell with this CTE stuff at the moment. And you go.
No, well, so on that, and this is, and I said to you, and I say to every guest at the start, if I ask anything or you answer anything that we're not happy with, we chop it out, because that's not what we're about here. So disregard the NRL, disregard Melbourne Storm from this conversation, and I've no doubt the protocols are as cutting edge as they can, and they're doing everything to protect the players. Does it concern you what's happened to you? Like you said, you've been knocked out 4 times.
Yeah.
Like the average person on the street, then is not getting knocked out 4 times in their entire life.
Yeah.
Does it? You're an intelligent man. You talked about what you want to do in the future. Does it concern you what it potentially could do to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's there. My granddad passed away for dementia, and he played footy. So, like, I'm like, there might be a
noticeable link that you can potentially see.
And I'm quite aware of that, and I feel like if we still don't know enough about it to directly correlate it. But in saying that, I think it is a possibility, and I've done a bit of research about it.
Off your own bat?
Yeah, just the Brain's Way of Healing, which is a neuroscientist book, and neuropsychology, and just learning about that side of things. And I've read a book about headaches, because I was trying to read about it when I had mine and just trying to figure out what it meant.
Hard to read a book about headaches when you've got a massive
headache. When you've got a headache, but it was quite insightful, so I'll give it that. But no, I think there's a lot of things that contribute to it.
Yep.
But I think my look on it is, I enjoy what I do now. I get a really big kick out of the platform I have to be able to share my messages, share my stories, and be on TV every week to deliver that. But at the same time, yes, it's a possibility. I try to do things off the field a little bit differently to, I guess, reduce the risk of that happening. I don't drink too much. I don't do drugs. I know that there is probably a correlation between that and CTE as well. But it's like, well, what do you sacrifice to have that? I've got a great life right now. I feel like I've set myself up well, and hopefully there's a cure in the future that can fix it up.
So at this stage, the benefits as a 26-year-old professional athlete, what you get from the game and what you're able to help provide others from the game outweighs the potential negatives.
Yeah, and I think if it gets to a stage where I feel like it is damaging, I'll happily step away.
Would you?
I'd happily step away. I think I've got bigger goals in life, and I'd obviously like to raise a family one day, and I'd like to be able to go down the grounds and play cricket with the young boy or young girl, whoever it is. And I've got aspirations to be more than a footy player. So I think if it ever gets to a stage where I feel like I'm, I guess, not ready to play anymore, I'll step away. And whether that's with the head or that's with the body, that's just one of those things that I feel like you just have to be okay with, and you have to learn that is part of the game. And as long as you're taking care of how you handle it and the way you go about it, that's all you can do in the moment. But yeah, unfortunately, there's people who have had to step away from the game, and there's massive respect to them, because I know how hard that would be. And to give up your whole life, really, like what you've known for your past, I guess, 30 years for some, and to step into a new arena just to better your body, that's a massive sacrifice and a lot to give away. But I guess if you've got goals and aspirations to do things in the future, and you feel like that's going to be at a detriment to you, then I think it's a massive move, and something that, I think people will think a bit more seriously about now.
It's a well thought out answer. We're coming to the knee now. Round 18 versus Canberra 2022. Yeah. I remember watching it and thinking, and I remember there was discussions that it was like a car crash victim. It really hit me yesterday when I was watching I presume it was the doco the Storm did, 25-minute doco, following when you get over to the States and see Bill, which we'll get to. Yep. And at the start of that, there's dramatic music playing, and the coach is talking about, no, we're not going to see him for the rest of the season. But it wasn't what he was saying. It was the look on his face and the tone in his voice, and he was just absolutely devastated that one of his boys was going through what he was going through. What are your memories of what happened? It sounds crazy, but did it hurt? What happens when you go into the rooms afterwards? Are you happy to talk about it?
Yeah. It's I think me talking about it might help someone going
Yes.
through something similar. And like I said, I really enjoy doing that. So, first initial thoughts when it happened was
So what did your knee hit?
his knee.
So it was right knee on knee.
Right knee, knee on knee. Mine was planted sort of in like a squat position, and he was just coming full pelt at me. So, direct hit, very, very painful. Straight away.
So you knew something's not good in.
Knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know the extent of it. Sometimes you cop a hit in footy and you think it's the worst thing ever, and you go in at half time and the doc will be like, "No, you'll be good and you'll be right. Just run back out there and you're sweet." So I think that's what went through my head because I've had a few little injuries. I was like, "Oh, like this is so sore." Like you're nearly hoping that like it's bad, so you're not carrying on. Like you're sort of just like, "Fuck, that was like ouch." But I was rolling the ground and then. Probably
Fuck,
wasn't.
that was like ouch.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, that hurt. But then I don't know. You're just trying to like. I think the whole pain just takes over in your mind. Of I don't know what it is, but this really hurts. And then obviously the physio comes over, presses on it, goes, "Oh yeah, I think we've just sort of got a knock. Do you want to just try stand up?" And I think there's footage of me just trying to stand up, and as soon as I put weight on, I just
It's not
just
good.
collapsed and went, "Nah, that's not good." And still at that time, I don't know what I've done. Like I think maybe it's just a really bad cork. That's what I was thinking. But I'm like, do you get corks in your kneecap? Or like, I think the pain was just above my kneecap. So I was like, maybe I've just been hit there, and then it's just like shot down, and got carried off down the sheds, and then the doctor was just pressing on it, and like sort of just like, I guess if you press on like your quad, I guess you can feel it like separate.
Yep.
So he was doing that on my kneecap. And I could just feel fragments of bone just separating as he pushed his finger into it. And he just looked at me and said, "Yeah, you've broken your kneecap." So I thought, broken bone, 6 weeks. You'll be sweet.
I like your positive approach.
And 6 weeks, so quite positive about it. No painkillers at this stage, just sort of like, I was fine with it. I did my rib cartilage a few plays before, so I was like, actually though, my rib's a bit sore, can you check that as well? So he'd been pressing on my knee, I'd forgotten about it. He put a big brace on it, he's like, "We'll go get you an x-ray, whatnot, we'll check your rib out." I remember going to the hospital and just like complaining about my rib being like, this is like, I think I need a jab, but my rib is cooked here.
So you're more concerned about your rib than your knee?
Yeah, more concerned about my rib. And then as we went in to get the x-rays, and I was sitting there just on the bed, and the surgeon doctor was just in front of me. He's like, "All right, we're going to get you up for an x-ray now. We can't give you painkillers because you don't know how soon we're going to operate on you." So I'm just sitting there going, "Yeah, like that's all right." And I think I was still in a bit of shock. Obviously seeing my knee, it was just this big ball on top, and I was like, "That's not normal." But I'm like, maybe it's just like, that's just the way it reacts to a hit. And whatnot. I remember just being at a ball, still really naive to what was to come. Like I just thought, there'll be an x-ray once again, get a scan, might be a couple of months, but we'll see what happens. And then once I went up and got the x-ray and came back, it was the first time I'd like stood up and been like moved along, and all the blood just rushed straight from my head, and like I nearly passed out. I had to have like the nausea tablets, and
From the pain?
Yeah, from the pain. And they just said, we need to sort you out. This is bad. And I remember him showing me the x-ray of the knee, and
What did the x-ray look like?
like someone taking a baseball bat to my knee. It was quite shocking. But then again, like I hadn't had a long-term injury. I had that concussion, but I feel like it was quite different. Hadn't had a long-term injury. I still didn't know I was in for the 14 months that I was in for, but I remember looking at it being like, "Oh shit, like how are they going to put that back together?" And I think the thing that stands out was how naive I was to it all. I just thought, this will be fine. Like I'll get it back. And then you start reading a few things, and this might be a few months. It's quite a difficult rehab, and fast forward a few months. And
So what was the moment when you actually realised what it was going to mean?
I don't know. Everyone around me was so positive, and I think I probably needed that I feel like if someone told me how hard it was going to be early, I don't know, but if you told me how hard it was going to be after 2 months, when I knew how hard it was going to be after 14, that would have been disastrous. And
What was your worst day?
Worst day was probably around that 8-9 month mark when I thought I'd be back. And then you run and you look down at your quad and your quad's still not back to the same size as it was before, and you just question whether it's ever going to be the same again. And that was scary. And I think, like, I spoke to Charlie Curnow, who had quite a similar injury.
Yeah,
and
he did, yeah.
Like, he was awesome. He said we'd catch up for coffees, and anything I was going through, he'd just be there to listen to and say, yeah, like, I've had something similar, or no, I didn't. And it just gave me a bit of direction to go, okay, maybe it's not normal. Maybe I do need to seek something else or do something else differently. And yeah, it probably wasn't until that 8-9 month mark where I went overseas and seen Bill Knowles, where I probably got that kick I needed.
So in the video again, your first meeting, I presume it is, with your first meeting with Bill.
Yeah.
And he's not talking about athletic performance. He's like how you're travelling as far as sitting in a chair or standing up or walking, and that was when it hit me. It was like, wow, this is a really serious, really serious injury. Why Bill, and what did Bill do for you physically? And listening to him, it sounded like he's pretty in tune mentally as well, not just physically. Big Billy.
He's changed my career.
Has he?
Yeah.
That's a good rap.
I think what he's done for me and what I've been through is, it's probably the best thing I've ever done in my NRL career. So I guess to break it up, what he does is, I'd say he's like a movement specialist is how he'd declare himself. And you obviously hear a lot of things about who he's worked with and what he's done. And
so who's he worked with, for those that are not aware of him?
He's worked with Tiger Woods. Yep. He's done some stuff with Tiger Woods,
That's
Nick Bosa, a few of the AFL boys as well.
Tigers, you've got me at Tiger.
Tiger Woods, yeah. But he just, I think because he's seen so much and seen different personalities, different individuals, he sort of knew how to approach my way. And first day he got there, he just sort of sat there and he was ear to listen. Like, he just listened to me. He just said, yep, like, I could tell you're frustrated. Like, this sucks. If I had this done to, like, he just really understood what I was about. And to have a stranger relay that back to you, it was like, all right, like, he might not feel like he's helping me in this moment, but just for him to listen to me and listen to my frustrations, because I feel like, no knock to our physios, but they've got 40 other guys to look after.
Of course.
You know, it's like my concerns might be not. They're probably worried about the guys who are a chance of playing. I was no chance of playing, and for him to just sit back and listen and give me a clear plan forward and give me reassurance of, no, he's like, I back you, dude. Like, you'll get back to that. Like, you'll be doing that again. And I was like, just to hear that, you know, it's so refreshing, because there's periods where I don't feel like. He's like, you're not going to feel like it right here. You're not going to get to the end of these 2 weeks and be like, I'm good to run out there and score heaps of tries and kick heaps of goals. But he said, it is a process and we will get there. Like, he was adamant we will get there. And I think for him to say that, and the way he just goes about his whole process and pumps you with confidence, you're never doing anything wrong. There's always ways you can improve. But there was never a moment I felt like I was behind. And yeah, it just changed my whole perspective on a long-term rehab and how to do it differently if something happened again, which it did. So.
Well, mate, you come back September 2023 qualifying final against the Brisbane Broncos. You lose the game. It's the first time I was watching the game live, because I'd read what you'd been through, and you know, it was a big story. It was the first time I've seen one of those sort of plastic blow-up things that they put round, which in your case is your ankle. I'd never seen one of those before. Yeah. So then you busted your ankle, yeah? It was horrible. How do you not, or do you go, poor me?
Oh, no, definitely. I went poor me straight away. I think it was the first sort of emotion I felt was...
Well, the whole country went poor Ryan. So.
Yeah. No, well, why me is probably the one, you know?
Why me?
Why me? I've let all these people down again.
You thought you'd let people down?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's a bit of a harsh judgment.
I mean, yeah, well, now I see that as quite a harsh way to look at it, but in that moment I was, like why me? I've worked so hard. I've done everything I could, and I guess after being through what I went through for so long with the knee, the only natural instinct you think of is, fuck, I'm going to go through another 12 months.
Yes.
You know?
And it did look gruesome right at the start.
Yeah, that was more painful than the knee.
Was it?
Yeah. That was more painful than the knee.
So what did you do to your ankle?
So I snapped my fib.
Right.
Took a little bit of my tib off when the syndesmosis snapped as well. And then I dislocated my ankle. So, yeah, it was, I think visually, because I couldn't visually see my knee, there's anything wrong with it. Yeah, straight away looked at my ankle and it probably...
Facing the wrong way.
Facing the wrong way.
Horrible.
And, yeah, the pain during that was quite immense. But, yeah, the first initial thoughts of, yeah, like I've let people down again and... yeah, like why does it have to be me? You know, what have I done wrong? What do I need to do more to get a good run at this? And yeah, I guess it's only natural to think that way. And
how long did you have those thoughts for?
Probably until I was. You get carted off and you go down into the tunnel and you're sort of sitting there. Then the green whistle kicks in, I think. So
right.
The green whistle kicks in, and then I quickly shifted my focus to wanting a snack pack because I was hungry. So, yeah, like it's one of those ones where the emotion just takes over, and I guess I'm probably a little bit embarrassed with how I initially thought, but I think when you're in a desperate situation like that, you sort of can't control it, and it's just up to then what you do after that and how you control your emotions, which I've learned a lot better from the first rehab, and yeah, probably took me a while, but you do feel sorry for yourself for a bit.
So what have you learned? Like resilience is such a modern buzzword, not just in sport, in life, and with your kids. You want them to be resilient. Like if I wanted one thing for my kids, it's to be resilient because life's not always easy. What have you learned about resilience through this extended period?
I think it's important to have people around you. I think it's important to have people who, like I said at the start of my career, gave me that scaffolding, nurtured me in a way that they're not telling me everything to do, but they're giving me the right direction. I think, yeah, support's one of those ones where you have it around you, but you probably take it for granted at times. And I know I did during the first one, and yeah, during the second one, I think in order to be resilient, you need some good support around you, and it's quite hard to do sometimes, but you've got to put things into perspective. Here I am still getting paid. Here I am still with an opportunity to come back. Here I am in the hands of the best people in the world to get my body right again. There's some people who might be in a car crash that have a similar injury and they can't afford the physio. They can't afford seeing a psychologist every week, you know, and I had the tools to be able to do that. And yeah, like there's going to be times where you're caught down and you're thinking the worst, and it can be all relative, but yeah, I think support network's a massive one. You need good support. You need to put things into perspective, and you've just got to see it as part of your journey. That's probably my third one. It's part of my story now. I can relate to people who have gone through a tough time or a tough injury, and if I can be someone who goes out there and centre stage now and performs at a high level, it just shows them that they can do something similar. So yeah, I think perspective, support network, and just inviting it into your journey and embracing it for what it is.
You've obviously been training hard over the summer and played a trial game. You went to Fiji and played. As it is now, it's 10 o'clock Wednesday. On Friday night, you're back in the Maelstrom. First game of the season, and again, this will have gone to air. Do you have, or how do you deal with any thoughts of trepidation going in, thinking, shit, what if something happens again?
I think I've come to terms with that now. I think, like I said, it's all a part of the journey. Everything happens for a reason, and you've got to react to whatever's thrown at you. And I feel like I've done all the hard work like I did when I came back from my knee. I feel like I've done enough now to put myself in a good stead. And I think the way I look at it is the two ways I got injured were freak incidents.
Absolutely, they were.
They weren't my body letting me down. They were a 110 kilo bloke running 40 kilometers an hour straight into my knee, and 130 kilo bloke falling on my ankle. So, yeah, I guess it's a bit of, I'm a bit unlucky, and like I said, I've also experienced some great things in my career already. So I feel like it's just sort of, you're on that curve at the moment where I had some really high highs. Now I've had the really low lows, and whatever comes with that, I just got to take it and roll with the punches. But at the same time, there's going to be better that's going to come from it, whether it's something in footy or whether it's me as a person and me learning on the journey. I think that's something the way I look at it. So, yeah, I don't think about it too much. I think I just got to go out there and do what I do, and if something happens, it happens, and I'll address that. But yeah, right now I see it as just it's the whole process, and being amongst it and learning about it, and yeah, whatever you're faced with, just see it as a new chapter.
Before we wind this up, and I'm loving the conversation. So every NRL player that will want to know the answer to this question that doesn't play at the Melbourne Storm, what is it about the Melbourne Storm that have allowed them to be so successful and so respected and have so few public mistakes along the way?
Yeah, I think it's hard. Like, I think it obviously starts from the top. Craig obviously instills values around the club that if you don't buy into it, you're not going to last long at the club. And it does revolve around working hard and being a good person. And whether you're working in the office or you're the 40th player on the roster, you're marked by the same, the same criteria. And I guess once you see your leaders of the club doing it, you just naturally follow in that path. And don't get me wrong, there's times where guys stuff up and get things wrong. They're only human, and I've done things wrong in the past as well. And I think the way they go about just guiding you and nurturing you, and like I said, scaffolding is so important in any industry you're in. And I feel like the way they do that is quite infectious. And yeah, it's no special recipe, I don't think. I think that's just the way it is good people working hard who care for each other. And when you got that care for each other, you want to work hard for each other, and you're going to pull each other up. So
I texted you yesterday, fair start to the season. Someone was telling me yesterday the Fox numbers on the Vegas games were out of control, like enormous numbers. I'm sure you had a look at it. Would you like to get the opportunity for the Storm to go to Vegas? I sat there and watched it, and I typically wouldn't first round of the NRL season on a Sunday when you've got your family. I thought I need to have a look at this.
Yeah.
Like the crowds, everything. It was just, your man, Peter V'landys is a genius. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, he's done a really good job. I think the NRL, the way they've sort of promoted the game and the teams they took over and the games that they've played, like they were two high quality games, and I think the fans loved it, and big shout out to the fans too who went over.
Yeah.
It's a big investment if you're coming from Australia to go watch Vegas, and not just the footy, but I'm sure the off-field stuff too. And I think the way they've gone about it was sensational. My only thing I'd probably say is give it a bit more of a lead in next time, whether it's Storm next year. Just give the fans 12 months to be able to prepare it, because I know how hard it is to conjure up that money and get time off work, and you got to factor all those things in. So, no, can't fault how it's gone. I think there's a contract for it for another 4 years, and they'll keep building. But yeah, Peter V'landys he's done a pretty good job, and he is a bull. He got us through COVID and got us through playing games and that, and now he's got Vegas running too. So. They've done an outstanding job, and hopefully can be one of those teams next year.
Get the flying mullet to Vegas. This we'll get people to the strip to go, mate. We always finish this podcast the same way. For those youngsters out there that want to achieve success, and I always give different examples, whether they want to be statisticians or writers or scientists or rugby league players. You've had, how old are you?
25.
25. You've packed a lot of experiences into a relatively short life. What advice would you give to those out there that are hoping to achieve success in the field that they are passionate about?
Oh,
I like that you understood the weight of the question. I like that you just didn't roll into it.
This is a big one. I think, if you're a young kid aspiring to do something in any walk of life, I think being successful or you want to be the best chippy or you want to be the best plumber, anything. I think you've got to find the right people to associate with. You've got to find people whose opinions you respect, but also be big enough to walk away from the people whose opinions aren't leading you down the right path. And that's a massive sacrifice you have to make. And I guess one thing that I've learned throughout my journey, that's probably another one, is like embrace the imperfection of life. Like there's a saying, it's called like wabi sabi, I think it's called, and wabi sabi. Yeah, so Adam Grant, an organizational psychologist, one of his books I was reading, it just spoke about everyone's so fine on chasing perfection, but you need to find the beauty in imperfection. And rather than chasing perfection, go for the achievable standards and just keep building your habits up in that way. So, I guess this is probably one for my situation, the one that I was in, but find the right people who will nurture you, people who will build you up, people who will scaffold you, people who will not tell you what to do and force you into things, but give you the right lessons. And then I think if you're a prodigy or you're someone who's achieved heaps of success, just keep being creative. Find something where you can be creative. Find a different way to do things, and just keep your brain ticking over, because it might work now, but times are changing and it might not work in 10 years' time. So just keep trying to change things, keep thinking, asking questions, and be open-minded to having a growth mindset.
Ryan, your story is everything this podcast aspires to be. You've enunciated it beautifully. I said it right at the start, you're a rugby league player I love. Now you're a person I love. The way you talk about yourself and your love for respect for people is outstanding. Good luck on Friday night and the season moving ahead. There's obviously a lot more to your life than football, but we really appreciate you coming on the show, and maybe you have a lot of success moving forward, mate. Good on you.
Thanks, Howie. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well done.